Believe it or not, it is Thursday, October 1st. Welcome to the Kahnawà COVID-19 Task Force Daily Update. These days anyway, it's been daily once again during this very busy time as we are now in situation red, as are most of the communities surrounding us. What that means is there are some new directives, as we talked about yesterday on the update. On today's program, we will welcome from Sagot Againhas Community Services, Stephanie Horne. On recent programs, we've talked about the need for people to talk. Many people are stressed, and with this elevated situation, we felt it was good to have someone from Prevention Services joining us on this program. But to start things off, I think the number one priority for so many in the community is education. The kids have gone back to school. There has been a lot of soul searching, and a lot of effort has gone into making it safe for the kids to get back into school. Joining us on the program right now, we'd like to welcome the director of the Kahnawà Education Center, Robin Delaronde. Robin, it's all yours.
So I'm pleased to be here once again, but unfortunately it's always under some circumstances where there's a lot of changes, a lot of things that really require some clarification. But that's what I'm here to do today, is provide you with as much clarification and answers to some of the changes and transitions that we're going to be all going through as we enter into the new phase for our education in our schools, which is in the red phase. So just to back up just a little bit is that we've been through our second week, really a full second week of bringing our students back into our schools. And even in that situation, I have to say that it's been relatively going well. Obviously, there's been some hurdles, some challenges in different areas, but for the most part, I have to say that it's been, re-entry has been satisfactory. And I think in terms of continuing on, we would have seen things continue to be progressing quite well. But unfortunately, as we just got into things and into our plans and getting things rolling and trying to monitor, we quickly have to change gears and have to make another plan before we even get out of the educational phase one and start moving into what is now the new phase of a red phase in terms of our situation here in our community related to COVID-19. So I really understand the upheaval and the stressors that it's putting on everyone in our community. I understand that, as parents, what's happened is you've become accustomed to this new type of reality, whether you are at home, currently involved in the home learning program, or you were a parent who chose to send your child to our schools. And I thank you for the confidence that you put in our school systems, in our schools, and in the different processes that we developed. And I thank you for putting your confidence, and I thank all the teachers, all the work that's been done to make sure as we entered and opened our doors, our schools were safe. And so far, I have to say that in terms of the reopening and the safe guidelines, it's been quite successful. But now we're entering the red phase. And what does that mean for our schools? What does that mean in terms of the new requirements or the new plans we have? So I will get right to that so that you understand. I want to provide as much clarity. I know sometimes we say, well, we'd rather just have the general ideas, get to it. But I think for today, I want to go through a little bit more specifics for you to offer you as much as I can right now in terms of some understanding. We were asked as education to put together a plan. We were asked to put in what happened is that in the first phase, or not the first phase, I'd say when we closed down our doors initially in March, April, and May, we identified that there were so many gaps. There were so many things that we did need to make sure that should we ever come in a situation like this again, we really needed to make sure that we attended to those specific areas that were gaps. And with those gaps, we identified the fact that you know, there were some challenges in servicing either our vulnerable population, there were special needs students, there were services that children needed, such as occupational therapy, speech. There was an immense amount of needs there. And we identified that, and we wanted to make sure that in this new plan that we make sure that we service this population and the needs for our community and our children. So that has been identified in the plan. We also wanted to make sure that the families who need to provide services and parents who are essential to our community are identified as essential services, that we have provided you with some opportunities to still keep your children in our schools and support you as you are required to conduct the much needed essential services that you are asked to provide to our community, to to different sectors here in Kahnawake. So to begin with, as we enter this, what we've done is we want to reassure our parents and students that all our 3 schools, they are going to remain accessible to our staff. What is going to happen is that we want to make sure that our staff can still come in, those who want to, those who need to come in and conduct their lessons via remote learning. Many of our staff expressed that at that time when we did close, that being home proved it was, you know, able to adapt because they had children, but it also proved many challenges for them. And so there will be some, and our doors are open for them to come in and actually teach lessons and prepare and so forth. So our doors will remain open for our staff to come in and prepare as needed. Another area that we want to, reason why we want to leave our doors open is that we currently know that when we look back that there were challenges even now with online learning. We're looking at the fact that how would we conduct exams? Is there a need to bring the students in periodically? Now that we set up places and safe guidelines, we can really say that we can bring our students in periodically, even though they're going to be doing remote learning, that when identified and when needed, they're going to be either driven in by their parents or bused in to do their set exams or whatever is needed and then be transported back home. Exams are one example. Another one is in our senior schools, we do have labs. So they will be periods that each teacher, subject area may identify that it's crucial that we bring in certain grade levels to come in for engage in opportunities that they cannot do online. Any other situations such as resource supports, individual education, monitoring, and meetings will be able to continue on the site, our school sites. Other additional measures is that our 2 elementary school students, two elementary schools, are going to be able to provide what we're calling right now is an educational daycare for our nursery to grade 6 population. But what that means specifically, I'll get into a little bit more about that. And who would be qualifying for this educational daycare? What we do want to provide is we want to provide services and supports to parents who are identified as essential workers. So for example, in this situation now, we have teachers who are essential workers. They will be required, obviously, to be teaching. They may be in situations where their child is, they have to care for them, homeschool them, same like a nurse, other essential workers that we have in our community. It is a heavy load for them. We understood that, we heard that, and we saw that and experienced it, that asking them to be able to take care of their children, conduct their essential work all day, then come back now and have to teach at the end of the day was a very tiring and taxing experience. So we will be, have already identified, each of our schools have already looked at who are essential workers, meaning in the parents, in their classes, in their schools, started to make a preliminary list. And what they will be doing is either reaching out to you or you will reach out to them to say that, you know, I will be still requiring my child to attend school on site because I am an essential worker. So we will be working to contact you to see if you still are intending to keep your child in our school, or if you at this point in time are going to be taking them home and engaging in a home learning concept. So we do want to make spaces available. Our schools need time to start. Once we reach out, I just want to give an example. We may have a nursery, kindergarten, grade 1 students right now who are, say, in Kahnawà school. Out of those groupings that we have right now, maybe only, of those 3 groupings, maybe only 10 qualify for what we would call a essential workers who can send their children to our school. So with that in mind, we may determine that that would be 1 classroom or 2 classrooms and have to combine them so that we can help them help to deliver the learning goals and achieve them while they're with us during that day. We also identified that even at the high school, we assume that our secondary students are going to be able to still conduct themselves, learn, get online, do whatever is required of them. Because they're older. And even if they had a parent who is an essential worker, that all would be fine. But this is not the case in all situations. Some parents who are, even our own teachers who right now are working and who have their children at home right now doing online at KSS have found that this is a challenge. It's not meeting the needs that, in not all instances, but some of them may have children who require extra support. So they, too, we have considered this to say that if that's required, you are an essential worker, even if you're at the high school level, we will allow your child to come in to the school to find a designated area where they can be supported and guided throughout the day to stay on task and do what it is that they are required to do. So we've opened our doors to accommodate, a lot of needs in our community. So those are one of the other areas. We are also going to ensure that each of our schools is going to have and continue the service for the students who we at times will identify as the special needs, whether there's groupings, classrooms already established in the elementary, even at the high school. We will continue to provide those supports because the consistency, the need for these students to have that consistency, support, and guidance is really, really needed. And for those who require to be there all day, they will be there all day. There may be some students who might need to be there for half days. So each grouping or each student will be determined by the school, and we'll be reaching out to you soon to inform you that you are part of this identified group who will continue on and not see an interruption of the services we're currently providing. The other challenge we have seen since we've reopened is connectivity issues. And I want to say that I just finished a meeting right now before I came here, specifically with Kahnawà Survival School, who's been in that process right now of going online, providing some supports to the students. Teachers have had some training. Even though we felt and that we had it, everything was going to run smoothly, there have been challenges, and there have been, some groups have had big success, others have not. We see things where some students are given their codes to their emails and then don't access them and put new emails in. So there's so many challenges. We knew it was going to happen. But it really is a period where we're seeing that, we need to regroup. We need to see what's happening here. And I have to say that hearing from the school administrators today, they really wanted to acknowledge and thank parents who, being patient. Parents are there trying to learn, help their child. Parents are calling in and saying, look, we understand. We know we're all going through this. And they're really appreciating that understanding. But rest assured, just today we had a big meeting about it. What do we need to do about this? We're not just saying, let's keep going. I'll speak to that in just a few minutes about what the plans are for Survival School. So connectivity, we know that even though we have done surveys, we've reached out to people, there still are areas or students and circumstances where it may not be as accessible as we had planned or how we wanted. So we'll be delegating certain sites in our school. If students are still experiencing connectivity problems, we still will have them brought into the school until we can really secure proper connectivity for them and resources. So that's also in the plans. One of the other things is that we definitely, like I just said, are acknowledging the challenges that we're facing. We really are seeing them. And right now, as I said, KSS has been almost, I guess, at the forefront for what we're going to experience in the coming weeks with our elementary sector, when most of the children there are going to be going online. So this has given us an opportunity to reevaluate what's happening at KSS. So what specifically is going to occur now? Next week, the week of October 5th, we're going to begin to see our schools start transitioning into what we're calling remote learning. Okay, so I don't want people to be confused. If you remember in the beginning, we have parents out there who initially opted for what we call the home learning program. Those parents are still going to continue into, specifically at the elementary, you're in that home learning program. You will remain in that home learning program and continue that home learning program. If you recall, it was by the end of October, we were going to reassess how that program was going. We were going to reach out to you, and we still will, to see if you are going to stay in that home learning program, or do you have other intentions, which at the time were to opt into more of the remote program, or you were supposed to either decide to come on site. So we still will be reaching out to you to see what's your intention. But home learning program will continue. Remote learning now applies to all the students who have been coming on site at our schools, and now most of them are going to have to now transition remotely, meaning at home. Remotely meaning majority, all your lessons are going to be online, with exceptions where I spoke earlier, whether it might be labs, it might be coming in for assessments, whatever is deemed necessary. So for this coming week, KSS, what we've identified is that on Monday and Tuesday, KSS has requested and really identified the need that they need to reconvene, relook at developing more instructional services and guides and training for the parents, for the teachers, and for the students. So really giving out more communication. There'll be videos, there'll be tutorials for you to properly maneuver yourself through the online learning that your children are experiencing, that you are. So we identified that as a heavy need and a target. So the school is going to be on Monday and Tuesday really working on that, and stay tuned for some information about how to support yourself as a parent, how to support yourself as a student, in terms of navigating, because this is an area we're seeing is concerning. The KSS students will not attend school on Monday and Tuesday. Your teachers will be uploading assignments for you on Monday and Tuesday, and this will provide the teachers with that opportunity and the school to get you out some information. Only identified classrooms or groups at KSS are going to be on the premises. Your administrators will be contacting you to identify whether you are that classroom, that group that will continue to come into the school. So please wait for your call that will notify you that you will be in from Monday to Thursday. On Wednesday and Thursday for KSS, all the remote classes are going to resume. So that is the date that KSS is going to start. So if you are not contacted, you are not one of the identified groups that are going to come on site, then you will be fully engaged in our remote learning. Online student services supports are going to be initiated that week as well. So we're looking at whether you are receiving speech, assessments, OT, any other student service or extra supports will be initiated that week. Elementary schools now Our elementary schools are going to remain open next week. They will continue as they currently are. The home learning program that I already identified is going to continue. The respective schools are going to start initiating contact with you to see what are your needs, because as you probably know, and we've been saying, is we've been faced right now with a challenge of having our Chromebooks and iPads delivered to us. They have been ordered. They were ordered, months in advance. The issue we're seeing is some of them are situated at ports, borders in Vancouver and other places to be able to ship them to us. So at this point in time, we will be reaching out to you. If you do have a device that your child can use, we want to know that. But we will be working hard and diligently to make sure that once our devices come in, they are brought to you. In the meantime, we are looking at the alternative, what's going to be needed for you as parents. So whether it's going to be the packages developed and sent home while we await the additional supports. They also will be contacting you and compiling, as I said earlier, a list of whether or not you qualify for the essential services on site in the schools. So that is also information that we'll be gathering. And we will be also, as I said earlier, in regards to KSS, identifying students who are eligible who have either special needs or require more intense on-site services will be identified, and you'll be notified as well. So the following week now, the week of October 12th, KSS is going to continue their remote learning. They continue with the occasional classes coming in, or the classes who are identified coming in. Elementary schools, it is at this time that we will not have classes for the elementary school population, only for the classes that were identified prior, who are either special needs or require more intense supports. That will be consistent and continue at the elementary school. All other students will remain home. Why? Number one, our teachers who are teaching on site are going to have to get accustomed and used to going immediately onto the online learning, get the things prepared for that. And in absence of that, they are going to have to be compiling the packages for parents and getting that work provided. We're going to have to be doing some staffing reassignments. So that's going to be important as well, because as I said earlier, we will have new groupings developed, either from the essential parents who are going to be sending their students to our school. So there'll be different classroom groupings. So there's going to be a lot of different coordination that's needed for the elementary school at this time. But if you are a parent who, you're sitting there saying, now my kid is going to be home this week, what am I going to do? We're going to be looking and collaborating with the Kahnawà Youth Center in terms of offering support to parents during this week and seeing and announcing, what we're going to be able to do. Possibly some of our staff, like we did back when it was April or, in May, we may be having an additional daycare supports while we are in that transition period. So please keep up to date with us, and we'll get that information out. The week of October 19th, now, all our schools are going to be engaged in the remote learning now. That is when everyone is now at the same page. Our essential education services are happening in all our schools, and on-site student services, any additional supports, all of that is now working and functioning at all 3 schools. What we would like to do, though, what I also want to add is that parents, with this change that we're having in terms of changing over into the red phase, some of you who are have children not attending our schools, but who are either affiliated with the Gariwanoru, Indian Way, if you have students going to adult ed, And if you are a student, an adult student, going to our Radiwanatnira's program at the Cultural Center, I'd just like to update you a little bit on how this reflects on your services. So with these plans, I've been keeping in collaboration, having Zoom meetings with the different managers or directors from those organizations. And they are also, some of them are already in these phases already. So some it does not really impact them as much as it does for us. So example, adult ed, they currently are on a majority of remote learning already as is. So things will stay the same. Periodically, they bring in students who require those additional, more intense services. So that's going to continue on where they bring students in. The Cultural Center, Radiwanatnira's program, they currently are conducting their program online via Zoom, and those things will continue. Their staff and their teachers periodically are coming in to deliver their courses in that manner. Gardiwanordu is going to relay specifics to their parents, but generally they are under some of the same type of circumstances here, and they will be providing you with more information as well. I do want to say I hope I provided everyone with, it's been a lot of information, but I hope I provided you with enough information in terms of planning, preparing for what is to come. I know one of the things that are almost like on a side note that we have to think of and consider, and we always are looking ahead, is that in the province we've seen a lot of information, a lot of things going out, concerns about the provincial schools, what's happening there at the high schools and at elementary. And I know parents are very concerned. We see and hear about walkouts. We hear and see, there's a lot of, resistance and concerns. So that is there, that's on our mind. So, and always that concern and thinking like, what if Legault does, backtrack and say, yes, okay, we're going to close, or it'll be partial days. So we are keeping that in mind, and we are looking at what could be alternatives here for our community members if they're faced with that situation. So with that being said, I really don't know how long, we as a task force, we don't know how long this is going to be, that will be in the red phase. I don't know how long the situation is going to happen. We'll keep track of what's happening in terms of the numbers and our situations. If things look good, if numbers and our situation looks promising, what happens next, you may ask? Then we revert back to the orange. We know what to expect. We know what's there, how we function in that orange phase. And I would say, unfortunately, we didn't have a long time to experience what was happening in the orange, but we know what's there, and we know that when we get through this, we're going to be reverting back to that situation. I thank you for your patience. I thank you. I know there's been a lot of missteps made. There's been a lot of things that, we've all done that have, in terms of communication, in terms of getting information out. We're all trying to do our best, and I understand and hear, and we'll work, with you collaboratively. This plan as well may need some readjustment, but we're here to listen. We're here to support you. So, Kahnawà, and have a good day.
Oh, jeez. Well, Kahnawà, Robin, and don't sell yourself short in terms of information and just getting the word out. You've done a fabulous job, and you and your entire team doing a great job. Joining us next is from Kahnawà Sagot yet again has Community Services, Stephanie Horne. She's the Manager of Prevention Services, and in past few weeks we've talked about some of the efforts that they're doing, and that there is an ear for you who are being very stressed, who are very stressed at this time. There's an ear for you to talk to. So let's bring on Stephanie.
Kahnawake. So I'm here today because I want to let you know that the services at KSCS have always been available. In particular, our psychological services, as well as any social services that are deemed essential. The one way to reach us is by calling our main number from the office hours, which is 8:30 to 4:30, and that's 450-632-6880. After hours response services are available by calling the Peacekeepers phone number, which is 450-6505. And when you make that phone call, you can ask for the after hours response worker. One of the things is, I think going into the red phase, as Joe said, and as well as Robin alluded to very much, is that it's creating a lot of stress, anxiety, much of the unknown for many of our community members. And I think that's something that we need to address regularly. When a person is feeling that way, you have to know that KSCS is the service that's available to you. We have numerous workers there who are very professional, and you can find services from either the traditional components as well as the Western methods of counseling. Sometimes it might be just a very short conversation with someone who you can address your concerns with. And that's what KSCS is there for you. I want to let you know too that in terms of preparing for the COVID as we go into the next phase or any phases within family situations, and each one of our families are different in our community. There's some real planning that can happen within your home and with your family. In our community, some of the things that is faced is the blended family issues. So now that we're expected to make our pods smaller, how is that going to impact blended families where you have not one, two, but maybe 3 families who are interacting with each others during the visits within the homes? That's something that needs to be really looked at and fleshed out for you. We do have our parenting team at the Family and Wellness Center that can help you if you do need supports for that. The other thing that KSCS can help you with is work-life balances during this time. And Robin, thank you so much for sharing all of that information, because parents now finally were getting settled in the orange phase only to find out that their children are now going to have to be homeschooled. What does that mean to them? How do they get childcare providers? What if they're doing shift works where they have to be expected to be at work in the evenings or on weekends? So those are things that we can provide. At this time, I'd like to talk to you about our KSCS website. KSCS has been working really hard at putting out a lot of information and a lot of resources for our Kahnawake families that they can access during this time. The information could be on anything from dealing with conflict in the home, to dealing with violence in the home, to dealing with coping mechanisms around anxiety and stress for parents. It might even include things on ways to reach out to our elders in a safe way during the COVID-19 crisis. One of the things we talked about in our staff, amongst our staff, was how do we plan now that we were finally able to meet with our elders in our community and now we can't? How do we plan so that we can bring them healthy meals and do it in a safe way, really respecting all of the hard work that the task force has put in place in terms of developing procedures for our families? So I really think, again, looking at that, and I want to really emphasize that our services are open for any mental health issue, any addictions issues, anything that may come up that you may need to address within your home during this time. On our website, we also have resources to other areas that you can contact, such as the helpline for parents. There's a children's helpline and a parent helpline, which is available 24 hours a day. I also would like other people to know that the Quebec COVID website has also a lot of great resources and materials that can help our families. So in closing, I would just like to say that when we always look at what is the reason why KSCS is there, and we have a very helping community. But one of the things is self-care is really important, because as caregivers, caregiver to your child, caregiver, especially for those parents out there who have children with special needs, it can be a very taxing and very challenging time. And those who are caring for elders or perhaps a sick family member, remember to take care of yourself and do self-care. And that's something that, don't be afraid to contact us at KSCS, because we have counselors, we have workers there who can help you on that journey during this time. Nyawagoa.
Now, Stephanie, and very well done. Once again, those numbers, 450-632-6880 for KSCS, and the peacekeepers are 632-6505. So there you go. Sorry, I don't often get to call the cops. Just a couple of notes in closing here. We'd like to reiterate that we are in the red phase, as I guess we all know by now. Just a reminder that there are developments, and as they happen, they're continuously being evaluated, and we're using here a phased-in approach. So even though we've seen all of the things that are in red in the red phase, they may not all be happening at once, and that's become apparent even in this early time. So it's been a day. I mean, we've started officially this morning. Just a couple of notes. We did get quite a few inquiries. Because things have changed, especially at this time of the year, people are closing their pools, and that was almost the number one question today. Does this mean that you can't get your contractors to come in and do that? No, at this point, the restrictions are on certain types of businesses, and it's not completely restricted at this time, so you can get your pool cleaner in to do that. Also, fence repair, home repairs, and things like that, those are still permitted. Also, just a note on public gatherings. Lloyd spoke on this yesterday. We'd just like to be very clear on that. So there will be specific exceptions for very specific situations. The task force is approving 25-person gatherings for things such as funerals. I know those are always difficult. There were some issues last week at one of the funerals, so hopefully we'll continue to address these properly, but we'll tell you about some of the things that have to be done. Religious or ceremonial gatherings are still certainly permitted, but again, 25 people. Psychosocial support groups and others subject to approval. One thing that is now required is a person responsible to ensure a registry of people visiting, including phone number, time of entry and exit. That will assure that everybody who attends, actually, don't forget, everybody needs to wear a mask. This way, if there has to be any tracing done, it'll be much easier to do so. But again, it is required that someone is available to do that job. Also, questions about Delaronde. We know that last time there were some travel restrictions between zones. Of course, Kahnawà considers Delaronde as Kahnawà North, so to speak, and that we have freedom to move around and move about. However, we know that if things get really difficult, the situation may change. We shall keep the community informed and advised at all times. And I believe that that's about it. Again, things may change. If any measures have to be taken, they will be, and you will be advised at a moment's notice by the COVID-19 task force. We do appreciate the fact that you've joined us today, and we wish everybody safe travel. So on behalf of everyone here, and also should say thank you very much, Nyawagoa, to Robin Delaronde and Stephanie Horne, for taking time today, providing us with very, very important information. We'll see you next time. Nyawagoa, Ano, Oriwahi.